Alright, hello there. This is going to be my first podcast. This is what I'm gonna start now. If you ever hear mouse clicking in the background, that is because I am going through my computer. I turned off, the video because I wanted nothing to be seen. There's nothing bad, but I just wanted to keep it voice only. I want to just put thoughts and ideas out there instead of a video instead. I do want to include video eventually, but for now I don't want to include any of it, just because of the ideas and preparation for what I will do. So, in conclusion, this is my first podcast, and here we go. So, today I was thinking about several different types of things about my book, or my story, Lasera. I was thinking about several ideas on the idea of world building, because in this, I have several, what do you call them? I have several things that aren't there that should be there, some things that need to fill in the spots, and I want to do this by starting a video just because it's easier to express it than in writing. I can do it in writing, or I'd rather do it in video because it's just talking, you don't have to write, which it's not that bad, but sometimes it's hard to go through the grammar and make sure you did it right, so whenever you read it again, it takes a little bit more time rather than just talking. But anyways, basically the ideas I wanted to go over were classes, so different kinds of things that people can go into, so like mages, warriors, rangers, all of that, you know. And then the other thing I wanted to go into was some story, like Lasera's background or people's background that are just normal everyday people, because I want the story to basically include everybody that I can. I don't want anything left out. Like, if there's a person, then they have a backstory. That's what I want. I don't want anyone left out. Whether that be evident inside the game or not, whether I leave it out, is going to be up to me, but I will have a story for every single person because I want to make sure you are involved and it feels like a real world. Even though I may leave some things out, at least have some sort of area where you can actually see. So say like a Wikipedia article or something much cooler, I guess, which is kind of funny. But first, I did say I wanted to do some classes. I came up with the idea of, well, it's not really my original idea because, you know, several people have thought about this idea, which is the fact that, you know, mages go into several different, or magic, I guess, goes into several different types rather than just one. So, you know, you can separate magic into separate things. So, say example is dark, evil, and neutral. Or wait, I messed that up. Dark, good, and neutral, not dark and evil. But in my case, I have this world where I want magic to be separated along several different, and they all go into some sort of figuration with the gods or the creators. I want them to all basically be fine-tuned to some sort of like rhythm or something. Like I said, I want the world to basically follow something. It's basically, so say a wave in a rhythm, how it goes up and down. I want basically things that if you start a, so say instance you start a beat or something like that, and then someone on the opposite side of the world starts a beat. Well, in some way those two are exactly precise to a certain second, and that basically if you took that rhythm and then you basically had a moment, like, I don't know, 0.001 second, just for an example, seconds apart, that would be the other rhythm, which would be like not inverse, but like a bad rhythm, if that makes sense. Basically, it would be like the where the bad magic comes from, or where things that don't belong in this world. So far, I want the second idea, not the first, because bad magic should be a part of normal. That's just the way I see it. And then out of this world, like I said, or well, I haven't said because it's the first one, but basically Lasera will have um, her own sort of area, which will be an inverse rhythm, I guess. And so basically, otherworldly things will be coming from that area, which is the magical forest, or quote unquote magical forest. So, yeah, the other thing I do want to touch on was the different types of skill, or the magic and the individual magics. So, for example, Case, the main character, I want her to basically be a tinkerer, a blacksmith, and something along those lines where it's like a builder, architect, and inventor. So that basically she has the abilities to create while also having some abilities to do other things, and basically she'll fall under the magic of creation or blacksmithing or something, and that will basically lead every single person under a path in like a job or something, so that everyone is uniform and it makes sense. I know this isn't necessarily an original idea, like by no means, but I mean, as they say, there's nothing new under the sun, so I'm just gonna act like these are. I don't know. I can't really credit anyone because I can't look through thousands of years of history and who said what in my life or something, so I'm just gonna act like it is. If there actually is something that I do take, I will directly give credit or something similar. I do want to say something because that would be plagiarism, and I don't want to do that. And plus, I want to give people their ideas back. Um, so basically, yeah, back to the thing. I know I keep getting off topic, but then I want something like second one, which would be like nature or um, something mystical or something where it's basically not mankind, I guess. So basically, like the opposite. And then I want people who have some sort of like telekinesis. Well, technically, that's actually a part of almost all of them. Not like that. I was thinking more like technology and like you can move cogs and gears, but thinking about this, this is kind of actually very strange for me, first time. So, um, something where like purity or something similar to that maybe, rather than nature. Um, and then I want like, oh man, it's still going back to nature. I was thinking farming, but I don't know. Think of like jobs or something. So for example, like writing. Gosh, most of these all go into like their own creation. I don't know how I'm gonna put that. I'll write down some and come up with some ideas. Um, the other things I wanted to touch on was probably characters. Um, some of them are very interesting, and I do want to come around to. And then I also want to like change names because there's a way where people basically see something as normal rather than something weird. So basically something like wall or versus something like in Lord of the Rings where they'll say like Mordor or something like that. It sounds natural, even though some things don't, like the Elvish language. But even then, those still sound like they all basically, it is a language. It sounds like a language, even though it sounds kind of weird. You would just kind of like get used to it. But yeah, I want to change some names and like their pronunciations because I have some ideas and I have what I want for those ideas, but I just don't know how to make them sound right and what people like, because there's this idea of community versus your own individual, which is basically saying we can't take from the people because then we are sidetracking from the original idea, and they also will go onto their own ideas, which can kind of divert from what people really care about something for, so like a show or something, and then that kind of ruins it for everybody. So it's hard to know exactly what people want versus how you should take it into your own, like, which way you should lean towards in situations. And that's sort of my problem with this whole thing. Because I don't really know what things should be community and what things shouldn't. Like, I understand the idea of like extra lore, things that won't fit in. I want that to go to like the community so that they can make their own ideas. Of course, I also don't like the idea of the community making just about anything, but that's how people are, so. But alright, let's just go into it. I want to start naming some things, and then I want to go into what I think they should be, because I want to just get through most of the basics, and then I'll come back and then say most of the newest stuff, the great things. So I have this thing called the Ragaloth. As I said, don't worry about the names, because the names I still want to tweak or something. I might not, who knows? I don't know. But the Ragaloth will basically be like a giant beast. It'll be about 30 feet tall or something like that. And then I want it to walk on two legs in the front, and then I want some sort of like probably like four legs in the back. And so basically it'll have like a slant, like a gorilla. You know how they walk heavy forward and then back is small? I want that, but I want it to where it's not so different, because I want the creature to basically look forward and it'll look up rather than down or anywhere near down. I want it to always look up, because as you know, with like nature and things tend to look up or down depending on what they see. Basically it's the idea of, if you look down, then basically you are the prey. If you look up, then you're the predator, because, or no, sorry, the opposite way. If you look up, then that means you're like scared of birds and other things, rather than looking down. You're not really scared of anything. You kind of just assume that nothing can hurt you and you're the top. So everything looks up. Like, take for instance humans. Humans don't look down. They don't care to look down unless something is a threat. But oftentimes we don't see anything as a threat, so we never look down. We usually look up or middle ground. So that's kind of the idea that I want to go with it. The other thing that I want to say right before I get back into the Ragaloth is that I want all of these names to have some significance, some part of them, to basically have where they mean something in some sort of language, or Latin or Greek or something. So, that being said, I'll get back to the Ragaloth, as I said. Basically, I want it to have fur, like, all over, except for maybe the face or something. I want to tweak some designs, but I had some notes, but I don't have them on me for all of these creatures. And then I still need to make tons more, as I said. So I'm gonna look while I'm talking. The other ideas that I wanted for Ragaloth was, I want the idea of, I want him or her or whatever, I want the Ragaloth to basically be something not feared necessarily, but unintentionally feared. Because if you're not looking down, like, it's not a harmful being by any nature. It's more herbivorish, and that's why I also want to add big trees or something relative to its size that it can feed off of. But I want this to be the good kind, and it won't be necessarily the strongest either around the land or anything. So, but it will be quite up there. It will be like 5th or 10th, somewhere along those lines. But yeah, I don't know if I can find anywhere. I have some actually different things that I made, but I haven't said anything about. But I don't know. I can't really talk much about it without the notes. So, well, this one's sort of new anyway. So I'm just gonna go on until I can get the notes for it. The next creature is called the Falden. It's a this is actually one of my first creatures that I made. Actually, I think it might be. But basically, it would be like a goat, and it has sort of the same biology as the Ragaloth. But it would also have some different features, such as around its neck, it'll have something that kind of sticks out, so sort of like a queen or king's kind of piece, where it basically like comes out behind them. A good reference would be like Queen Elizabeth or someone like that, where they have like this, I don't know, this background thing where it like casts something, or like their shadow, and it shows like dominance, I guess. I'm not exactly sure, but something like that. And then I want fur, of course, and then I want maybe an eye on both sides, maybe two. Or I can even just do two eyes on one and then one on the other. And so that will also give a little bit interest. I don't know, I always like making things a little bit different, because it shows uniqueness or something different about every creature. There's not a whole lot to talk about him. As I said, I still don't have notes for him. He was one of the oldest ones, but I know exactly where the notes are. I just gotta get them. The next one is called the Barnick. He is basically a similar thing to a horse, only he has nostrils down the neck, 6 actually, 2 all the way down, so it's basically like 2, 2, 2, and then he has the normal ones up there. But then I want its nose to go like at a point, but not exactly at a point, and it'll be very slim at the jaw and up, and then the neck, it'll just be pretty normal, and then its body will also have the same idea of the Ragaloth. I don't want everything to have that same biology, but it's just a little bit interesting. And plus, I kind of have to add more nostrils or something for each one of the creatures that have more limbs or something, because it just simply makes sense. The other thing I have to think about is like immunity towards things, because you know, the more you take in, the more closer, or the idea that you're gonna contract more diseases. In my idea, um, if I'm wrong, please tell me, I guess. But that's just the way I think of it. If I had some sort of like notes or something for this, I probably could speak about this a lot better. But I didn't make any, as I didn't want to. I just kind of wanted this as a test, while also having this as my own idea. But yeah, the next creature is called the Extedian. This one, I actually think I know what this one was. Actually, never mind, because I don't want to make sure, because I mixed the Extedian and the next one called the Yexodon. I usually mix up those two with each other, because one is basically underneath like ground, and it basically has a flat body, and then it has like 3 limbs that it reaches out, and then it'll basically like feel with like I don't know how to describe it. It's like a plant, but like it has several different like things on it, like not things, I don't want to say that, but like spores, if that's a good thing. So basically like little fibers on it, but not too many, just like a small amount, like 7 or something like that. And then basically it will hear a lot, and it will basically detect vibrations rather than sight or something like that. The other one is sort of like a gorilla thing as well, and it will basically be like a sort of like the Ragaloth in the way it like stands, so it's tilted up again. And then this one will actually have double joints on its arms, so that it has freedom of movement. I think I labeled this one as the Yexodon. I'm not so sure, but if so, this one I think is... Oh no, I forgot to mention actually. Yeah, never mind. Forget about that last statement. But yeah, the barn neck, I wanted to say that basically it has a trainer, or if it does have a trainer, it basically has like this mutual affection towards it. And so it feels that if it ever bonded with anybody, it stays with that somebody. If that somebody ever dies, then usually it has a very, very, very hard time to ever release itself and go back to a normal, like, before the trainer, I guess. But basically they're very loyal creatures is what I want them. The rest of them I'm gonna skip except for the Psychol, who's basically, I actually came up with this idea based on trimmers. You know the like dog figures of it? Basically it'll have two eyes, and then it'll have this mouth, which on the top it will be normal, but then the bottom, like jaw, will basically have like this, like the skin that's kind of like mushed together, so basically like fold, and then it'll have like two teeth sticking out, and like big teeth sticking upwards towards it. It's actually based on Lasera as well. And the way her design also has two big teeth, and then it has like this middle indentation on her bottom jaw, and it just kind of like shows. It's sort of like a tusk, so it's like like hard, and I don't know. It kind of shows dominance, sort of. Um, they are all actually four-limbed creatures. I haven't thought about their body a whole lot because I just kind of, I don't know. I haven't got around to it, I guess. But the other big thing I want them to do is I want them to have somewhat of a sort of intelligence, and then I want them to have like an area where everyone understands this is their area. So basically it'll be like the, as I call it, the Psychol Empire, which I actually made a few things on. But the next one I'm actually going to change the name, but it's called the Five Demons. I don't want to say demons, but I want to say something else. I just came up with this because of a dream, and it was basically taking the idea of actually I have some notes for this right here actually. But basically it was a dream about 5 different types of demons who would affect everyday life, but in this case they won't. They'll be just like normal creatures, but people kind of interpret them as all the same. Sort of like a, what do you call, ant colony or something like that. But, I'm actually gonna see if I can find it in my notes. Oh boy, I can't remember my password, but I remember some, like, oh, I totally typed this wrong. I remember the idea of a big, like the first one I think was the smallest, and then the second one was normal size. If I can find it. Sorry, I was just getting out my password for it. Let me see. I don't want to make it like not commentary, but I'm probably gonna have to because my brain function is going towards this right now. Because I really do want to talk about this a little bit. No. Here's some other ideas for the book, actually, or game, or whatever you want to call it. This might be it. Maybe. I need to label some of these. Gosh. Oh, what? Sorry, I found one of the dreams, but... let's see. Oh boy. Wow, I cannot find it. Oh wait, I think... Oh gosh, I need to keep them all under one thing. Oh boy. Wait, hang on, I actually have a search. I forgot about that. never mind, it doesn't really work. Oh boy. I'm sorry for this, but I really just gotta find something. I don't want to talk about it too much because, as I said, I haven't talked about these things in a while. I was gonna get back to them, and I wanted to type most of this or talk about them on my computer rather than my iPad. Here's maybe no. Oh, man. I have so much writing. I'm just trying to put it all together. I thought I labeled this one, but I guess no. Actually, I gotta go through this again. I gotta read through all this. No. Yeah, there's some labeled. I wonder if I didn't type it on here. Let me check on my computer because I have notes everywhere. I actually think I know where they might be if they're not on here. Oh boy. Well, never mind, it just went into an update. That's what that sound. Oh wait, you can't hear that sound. Other than that, there are two others that I don't want to go into as well because I still have come up with them and I haven't really put over them. Usually I'll just come up with ideas or like names and then I'll just write them down. And that's why everything is everywhere, because whatever I have in hand is what I use in hand because I just want to get through it. While this is updating, I'm gonna see some characters, which first character is Lodi. This is actually based on a friend's character, but I don't think I'm gonna have the same, or Lodi, I don't know. It'll have a similar idea, but it won't in a different sense. So basically they'll have the same characteristics or something like that. Well, this did open, but oh boy. Yeah, so much writing on every. Oh wait, I actually found it. Alright, I'll get back to Lottie after I talk about this one. So I said the first demon is like a spider-like creature, and the second is the second most plentiful, so the second most common, I guess. The second demon is a 4-foot tall demon that is less dangerous but still dangerous and often do terrible things and are most plentiful. Of course, as I say, these aren't all filled. I wish I could fill them a lot more. I probably could easily, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have the motivation most of the time. I just kind of have to force myself sometimes, but the third demon is the size of a bird and looks half burnt and half normal. This one being dangerous when it wants and nice when it wants. It is often mute but can sometimes talk. The fourth demon has wings and is normal, except a tiny part of them, randomly at birth, is burnt. And there are 4 uncommon. These are mostly nice and help those around it. I'm actually surprised I didn't type all the ones about uncommon or common. I think the second one was the most common, and the fifth was the least common, and then the third, I think, was the third common? Something like that. But basically, as I go through this, you can see how I said that they're burnt. Basically, they're not necessarily burnt, but I want it to appear the burnt, because I want them to have sort of like a darkish figure on them. I want them to basically be a half for the fourth one, so basically half and half. Or no, sorry, I think, yeah, third. Yeah, I don't know why I said that, but third will be half and half to show that it will do good things and bad things. It will basically be half on good and half on bad, so it'll basically be neutral most of the time, but it can do those as well. So whatever they're most, or like whatever those two numbers add to, is usually what they'll do. So 50 and 50, they'll they'll add to a 0. Well, technically it's 50, negative 50, but yeah. Then I said the fourth demon, yeah. So basically it'll have a tiny bit of it left, and it'll basically be this mostly bad, I guess. Actually, maybe not. I think because, okay, no. Yeah, never mind. Sorry, fourth and second are actually switched. The second is worse, and basically I want the idea that it's basically where things appear bad are not necessarily bad. They're actually good, and so that's why I have the fourth one actually nicer than the second one. And then I think the first one, so I think the order of which they go into is fourth, third, no, fourth, first, third, fifth, second, I think, in the nice to bad spectrum. And then I said the fifth demon no human has ever seen, but apparently they are the nicest and look most pure. Oh, well, I should just read. Why do I even try? These are only known by other demons that only hint to its existence. And that's about all I can say about them. As I said, I kind of want to keep the fifth demon, though, just kind of like hidden or like mysterious. It does exist, but I don't want it to appear that way. It has some influence, and basically I want it to be like a I want it to have a physical form, and then I want it to have sort of like a specter form, and it'll have a very most of the time it will be unphysical, just because it will be harder to turn into a specter form. But I want that because it's sort of like just shy, I guess, is the best way I can put it. So back to Lottie, or Lottie, sorry. Basically it's like this cute floating creature who's pink and yellow, and this one's based on a friend. As I said, this is not my idea. Well, some of the aspects are, but most of it is where I came from, another person. But yeah, that's all about I can say. There are some that I still haven't added anything to. Nasha is sort of like a reference to another thing I've been writing about. But she's going to be in there as just a sort of reference. She'll have the same personality as the one I'm writing about. Keith, as I said, is the main character. I have some notes about her, but I don't want to get into her in this one. Green, Sable, those are also two references based on another thing that I'm writing about, or I stopped writing about, actually. It's done. Yeah, they're just going to appear in there. Vaseline is going to be Keith's girlfriend, quote unquote. She'll be her friend, her closest friend, besties, I guess, whatever. And she'll be mute. Yeah, she won't talk, but she'll have like a sign language, and then she also has the idea of the magic of psychosis, not psycho, well, telepathy, if you will. Basically, she can like communicate or read minds, and also like send messages, but she's not good at it yet. She will get better. And then the rest of these are really just ideas. There are some that I have a few ideas on, and some very interesting things. Like there's this character called Fig, who is F-E-G, not F-A-G, sorry. If you heard that wrong. Or if, I don't know, I don't want to be mean or anything if that sounded mean, I'm sorry. But yeah, basically he'll be, he's going to come in by Lodi, who he will basically find with a group of friends who he will eventually, they'll die or abandon or something, I'll figure out. But basically he'll be Lodi's or Lottie's companion, and then they'll find Keith eventually. Minnie is about the last one I want to talk about. There's like probably 12 of them here, I think. But yeah, Minnie's the last one. The rest of them I won't go into. But Minnie, I say, likes to hide around corners and listen in. She's very shy as well. Um, so basically, she'll be the kind of character who's kind of in the background, and then if anyone ever tries to bring anything up to her, she's going to like kind of quiver or shake, and then she'll kind of like ball up. And then I guess the last things I do want to talk about is the creators or slash gods. I'm just going to call them creators from now on, even though I actually called them the Ankiri. Akir, sorry. Not Ankiri. That's the way I spelt it, but yeah, I have the pronunciation. This is why I have pronunciations listed right after the words, because I don't know what I'm writing sometimes. But, yeah, let's just go down some of this list. The first one, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, technically there's 9 gods, but I'm not going to exactly say who's the last one. The first one is Sovereign, who is the god of life and death. The other idea that I like is the idea of gods. The idea of basically if you know someone's name, you have control over them. I read this off of a book by Rick Riordan, who had like these Egyptian gods. I can't remember the book, but basically if you had their name, you would have control over them. And then also sort of a biblical reference where Moses says, he says, God says to Moses, he says, I am who I say I am. There's, nothing more. There's, like, that's who I am. There's no more. You shouldn't know me by my name, because by saying my name, you would have power over me. So basically that's where I'm going to go into. I'm going to say their name that people view them as, and then their like official name, their real name. So Mary Meridian, who is the god of fear, Lamerit Ipe, who is the god of madness, Eremeses, who is the god of peace, it's Aram, and then Eremeses, who is the god of peace. This one I haven't thought of a shorter name, but Sigamestes, who is the god of power, and also slight little thing that I have is the god of Ayexodon. Perasha is the god of knowledge, Capra is the god of strange, and Kangala is the god of love. And the idea that I had was that there would be three stages for like celestials or like beings above the natural plane. Well, there might be some more, but the god-ish, the good, I guess, if you will. So basically I said the Akir, which are the creators or the gods, the Embanin, which are the angels, and the Natuls, which are guardians. And then I have dragons. I have 2, which is Lasera, and then Zvaren, sorry, who is an Embanin, and Lasera is, I'm just gonna say it, she's an Akir. Other than that, I have a few places, but I'm not going to go through them because last time I did, some people laughed at the names. I have some other notes on the right showing what they should be. Wait, hang on. Oh, I see. Okay, so basically I have like what the gods are also gods of. Yeah, I'll just skip that for now. Okay, so the next page I have the creators' names all in one list, and the second one I have the name of the Ambanine. The next thing I have Dominion, so what they hold power over. The next is pronunciation, and then the last thing is notable things about them. Right now, notable things about them are not really filled, and then creators' names I only have 2 filled in right now. But other than that, I'll go through the names, and then I'll go through the dominions, and then I'll go through the dominions that don't have names. Um, and then I'll just list. Actually, I won't even list creators' names either. So who created the Ambanines? Which I want. Actually, I will say that I want one or multiple that make one Ambanine. Just because it kind of fits with their dominion. So basically, if they're the god of time or something, or the Ambanine of time, they'll basically be between Sigamestes and, I don't know, Capra, for example. Something like that. That might not make sense, but I'm just saying it as an example. So first I have Comer, who's the dominion of passion. Actually, I will say first, I know I keep saying this and I keep going off topic or my own ideas, but basically, I want the Ambanines to basically rule over an under part of what the gods rule over. So the creators all rule over every single thing, ever. Or maybe not. I might not, because I kind of like the idea of uniqueness or something. I might, maybe not. But if they do, then they'll rule over everything. And then they'll just kind of like pass on some of their power. So, for example, if you were the god of the water or something, then an Ambanine would be the god of waves or hurricanes or something like that. Now I'm not so sure, now that I talk about it like that. So first I said Comer, passion, Parapix, torment, Gaselion, lust, Visper, greed, Canassi, wisdom, Ambel, memory, let me read this. Irian, that's what it is. Technology, Comold, art, Untux, deceit, Hientheter, calm, Zintheral, strength, Paljern, recurrence, Veblinok, vengeance. And then the ones that I don't have is honor, loyalty, rock, water, ground, fire, song, thought, energy, wind, fauna, flora, time, patience, night, and day. Yeah, there's not a whole lot I can say there. I probably could, but I'd have to have notes. There are some references that I have where I basically give the legends and like why some things are named the way they are. Like, for example, I know the god of light I have in one of the legends I have, they call it this specific time, who's basically, okay, they call it the Kevling, and it's um, whenever that Ambanine was born, which I haven't came up with the name for that one, but yeah. I want to go into Case and Lasera just on their one separate thing, just all alone, because they have quite a bit of information about them. As I said, they are the two biggest ones, and I want them to see. Well, I don't want you to see them like all the time, but I want them to have the most important things. Even if Lasera isn't noticed or mentioned, or she doesn't have as much screen time, say as some other bosses or something like that. So say she has 5 minutes, whereas another boss has 10, and that's all she got. I want her to still be the bad. So that's the way I'm gonna keep it. The other big idea is I want to basically have either one story or I can have it in two stories. And if I do it in one story, then it will basically be the end of Lasera. Or I can have it in two stories, which I also came up with, which is basically the idea of taking down the Empire, and then the second one would be going and killing Lasera. But other than that, I really don't want to continue it if it was like that. Either way, it just kind of has to end there. I can make like subplots or something like that about the characters and what they do, but if it's like either one of those, I want them to end like right there, and I don't want to continue it. Even though I do love it, I don't know, we'll see. But I do like the idea of just Lasera being the final. So, yeah, I don't want anything else because it just, I don't know, it doesn't seem like it would fit in the way I have the idea for it. Other than that, I do want to come up with some sounds and music and stuff. I have created some music for it, but it's still in a work in progress for most of them. Other notable things, I am making some of their models. I know Lasera's been troubling some. I'm still going through some tweaking and some big things, like I haven't even finished the tail. And her back legs, actually. But yeah, the next thing I will go into is probably main characters, or the main, Keith and Lasera, and then some other party members of Keith or Lasera as well. And then either that, or I'll go into creatures or like technology. But even then, if I talk about either one of those, then those are going to have to be split up. The only thing is the main character, main bad guy, is going to be in just one. Other than that, that's going to be the end. And I'm thankful for anyone who's joining this. If there's no one, then I'll still be here.